The Gi spot. I'd hit that.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
No, I'm not ready. I don't have a blank page. Okay, now I'm ready.
Sorry. 3, 2. Welcome to the Gi Spot podcast. My name's Ray. I just got lightheaded.
Keep going. We're keeping this one. I had to take my glasses off because I can't see. Oh, okay.
All right. Welcome to the Gi Spot podcast. My name's Rachel Bradshaw. And we can never get through an introduction ever. And I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a really
long time. Hello, I'm Kaz Page, and I'm going to get into trouble for moving again and probably being out of focus. And I haven't been doing jiu-jitsu as long as you. What a start to the show, Rach.
Oh, my goodness. It's like, yeah.
Oh.
Would you like some savvy touch?
Yeah, I know. You're sounding so much clearer than when you first walked in.
Oh, so full disclosure.
We're both not well.
Yeah, we've sort of been touched by the...
Not by the tisms.
Only one of us is touched by the
Yeah, I get
tisms.
that daily.
Touched by a little bit of sickness that's going around our area at the moment.
Ooh, lightheadedness and coughing and all the
I know,
joyous
don't make
stuff.
me laugh too hard. I actually got dizzy then when you made me laugh so hard. I was like, oh.
I didn't even know what was funny other than we had tried a couple of times to get started, and by the time we actually got through to it, I was losing my shit laughing.
I think the whole thing stays in. I think we let the listeners hear all
Oh,
of that.
they can come with us on the crazy journey too. What did Brent say last week? You know, it's a show about nothing that we always find something
It's
to
like
talk about.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I love it.
I know, it was awesome.
Yeah, I reckon that's probably like we need to change our bio and
Yeah, it's
change-
a podcast about nothing that always comes back to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm in on that. Absolutely. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Okay, so hi.
Hello.
We actually have something to talk about.
Oh, we always have something to talk about. Sometimes we get a little lost in the trees.
in the weeds and the
Yeah,
trees,
yeah, and
but
come back
we retro. How was your week?
Holy moly. My week was great.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay.
The weekend was fantastic.
Okay, so hang on, not the weekend. How was your week?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. All I
But
know
it was great.
is that I'm absolutely in love with jiu-jitsu right now. I really love it.
Is that because of the weekend?
Yeah, like I feel like renewed invigoration.
Okay, so let's.
Not that I wasn't in love with it before,
No, I
but
know.
like
Yeah.
you know how like a good marriage, you'll go through. You know, life should be pretty even keeled and happy, but then you'll go through like those really moments where it's like really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is really good right now.
And that, you know, I think like anything, when you have a passion for something and then you have to do it for work, it can slide up and down a little bit, right? Because there's all the other jobs that come with.
That's an academy owner for sure. And I think, but I don't know, I never lose my love for jiu-jitsu. There's a real separation in my mind,
Yeah.
which is like, and probably comes because I teach the day classes and at night, Grant teaches the night classes. So I can kind of come in and I'm still expected to be there. I still run the show and answer questions and you know, walk around as an assistant coach and things like that. But I can relax more.
Yeah.
And then when it's time for rolling, it's like I'm just one of the crew. I just jump in there and roll and have fun and do all of that. So I don't ever. There's a definite separation in my mind, but I'm very good at compartmentalizing. We've talked about that before too.
Yeah.
So I think that really helps. Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. So talk us through then. What did we do on the weekend?
On the weekend, there was a big female-only open mat held at Brada Jiu-Jitsu in Artarmon. It's part of the Sydney, I want to make sure I get this right because it's a big name, Sydney Women's BJJ Collective, which is sort of a new initiative. They've had, I believe 3 events so far, official, where like they go to different people's academies who get to host, and it's just a whole bunch of women come together for a couple of hours, roll. It's a big open mat, no affiliation, no politics, no shite. It's just let's all get in the room and just have amazing time together.
So can we just jump back a little bit before the weekend? I mean, it's not a secret that this isn't a huge women's sport or a huge women's martial arts. Why? Why do you think – I mean, it's growing. It's definitely growing. But what's the catalyst for women not walking through the door, do you think?
In the first place?
Yeah.
I think it's intimidating. I think it's got that fight connotation to it. It's a martial art. I think when you look at historically what brought people to martial arts in the past was like a lot of 80s movies and things like that, the UFC, all of these things are sort of considered more of a physical kind of battleground. And I think probably in general that's, one, very intimidating to females overall, and B, probably not very interesting to a lot of females overall.
So if you take the physical fight kind of connotation out of it, what is it that interests you about it?
So originally, and we talked a little bit on our podcast with Roll or Die. I asked the question, and it was what has your why changed over the years?
Yep.
For me, it's changed a lot. So to start with, it was because I realized my whole family were doing it. I didn't want to be left at home, and I was a bit overweight, and I wanted to do some exercise. Then it really changed, and I was all about women's empowerment and learning this for self-defense. Oh, women should be doing this for self-defense. And that was pretty much, I rode that bandwagon for a while. And then it changed again to, hey, this is actually really fun. I'm just here for the fun and good vibes. And then recently it's changed again to my why is now because I like the way it makes me feel. I recognize that it's good for my mental health. I recognize that as I get older, it's good for my mental clarity, for my learning, for my physical health. What I do now is going to affect me in 20 years' time. I don't want to be stuck immobile. I want to keep my body active. I want to keep my brain active. And they're all the reasons what my why is now.
And it's really interesting because, and I can say this because by the time this episode makes it to air, J-Mac's episode's up anyway. But when we spoke with J-Mac last week and we were talking about doing the exercises for that muscle memory and for really longevity of the muscles and the movement in the body and the flexibility and things like that. And he made the comment as an subject matter expert in this field that if you do nothing else but just jiu-jitsu for 10 years, you are still getting all those things. You're not getting them necessarily as fast or as I guess, responsiveness in time as quickly as what you would if you do additional stuff, but you are still getting that from jiu-jitsu. So if you stayed in jiu-jitsu for, say, 20 years, from your 40s, 50s through to 60s, you're probably way more agile and far more flexible than your counterpart who's not doing anything in that age bracket, right?
100%. I went and saw your physio
Hey!
yesterday. Shout out to Dr. Phil.
Yeah, he's very cool.
I took my son to see him, and we were talking about that, and we were talking about, jiu-jitsu people getting a fuller range of movement and motion in their limbs than what the average person does, because they just go on a straight, say you go for runs, you're going on a straightforward movement. In jiu-jitsu, we're opening out our hip flexors, we're moving our legs all around, we're moving our arms all around. So we're getting full rotation in the joints that help us later on. So it's a really beautiful thing.
When I first started with jiu-jitsu, even for my girls at the age that they were, there was a lot of kids on the mat, but that portion was still very much boy dominant, in the classes. And for me as a training person on the mats, again, there was only probably a sprinkle of females that were coming through at the time, and they certainly weren't my age demographic. They were, the young 20s, the late 20s sort of demographic. Do you see that changing of late?
I think at Iconic we have probably more of an intake of mums at the moment. But I think you've got a lot to do with that. I think you've rallied on the side. And so you've rallied these mums going, come and train with us. It's so much fun. So we have that happening. I don't know. I think across the board, if I was to look at the demographic on the weekend, I would say probably majority were younger females. I don't know.
It's interesting. I was talking to one of the women there on Saturday, and we were talking about women's programs in individual gyms and things like that. And it's so good to hear that so many gyms are doing this now, and they've got their women's class, right?
Yes.
Which is awesome. And I think it just opens the doors wider for females to walk through. And as you say all the time on a Wednesday night, women, this is the safe space to start, to come in and really be looked after. But 90% of the women transition onto the mixed classes.
Yep.
Because they then start to realise that everyone's a good training partner and it's okay, and this kind of gets into your blood and you want more and you want to train more often, and so it becomes a collective of everybody's okay.
What I'd like to see and what I'd like to have the perception change though is that a women's only class doesn't need to just be that introductory class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want the women, especially at Iconic, to know that if they were to come on a Wednesday or come back to that Wednesday night class, they've actually got some really great training partners in that class that they can get a really solid session in, that I can teach them stuff that maybe they hadn't thought of, because women move differently to men.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a female coach, I can just, you'll hear me on a Wednesday night. I drop little tidbits of this and that where it's like, and this is how I deal with when I'm rolling with someone bigger, stronger, more athletic than we are. So that's the kind of focus that I bring into those classes. Whereas every other class that I teach is mixed classes. I don't tend to drop those little hints and tricks because it's across the board. Yeah. Yeah.
So how talk us through. So coming back to this weekend then, how did it feel walking into a room where there was like 55 women all standing there ready to roll?
Yeah, there was 52, which is incredible. Like that number alone is just amazing. I felt really proud. There was 9 of us from Iconic that were able to go. I wish I could get all the women to go, but there's always something on. But we took down 9 of us. That was awesome. Walking into that room with 9 of my girls I was so proud.
Yay.
So proud and so just excited to be part of something so cool as that.
And every single one of us rolled and had a ball of a time and rolled most of the rounds. I was exhausted by sort of 4 or 5 in. And
man, you worked hard.
I did.
You were red and sweaty.
Yeah.
And I was really proud to see a couple of other ladies that we brought down come off the mat like super red and super sweaty. I'm like, hell yeah, go get it.
Everybody worked really hard. It was awesome. And my girls had a ball. Yeah. Had an absolute ball. But what does it mean to you? Like, forget about jiu-jitsu for a second. What did it mean to you seeing all those women there in this sport that you love so much?
Oh, it was incredible. I don't know what to answer other than I was so proud and so blown away and just not overwhelmed. I was just really happy.
Yeah.
I was just really happy to see this many women on the mat together. And you know what made it even better was the vibe. The vibe of that room was so cool. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm in the position that I'm at or whether other women had the same experience as me or even saw what I saw, but when I looked around the room, I didn't see women trying to take each other's heads off or strive to be like, oh, this is my chance. You know, I only ever get to roll with guys. So now I finally get to beat someone and I'm going to rip everyone's heads off. You know, I didn't see that happen. I don't know whether that happened or not, or whether I just wasn't involved or privy to it. But the tone of the room was, hey, we're here to roll. We're here to roll with intensity. And yes, we're going to try and like get the tap and things like that, but not at cost.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and hurt you. I'm not here to, for competition. I'm just here for the camaraderie, for the fact that we're all together in a room. It's just an amazing experience.
It really felt like being at home.
Right.
I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. It felt like being at home. Everybody felt comfortable to be around. It didn't matter if you knew the person or not. Even at one point there, you and Jess were sitting, black belt Jess, not our Jess, was sitting on the other side of the wall. I didn't have my glasses on. I saw movement and then I had to ask my daughter, hey, am I being ushered by some people? I was like, come here. Everybody just seemed to be there for each other and everybody got along. It didn't matter if you knew. I've got people now that I'm friends with on socials and everything that we'll stay connected with.
Yeah.
It just felt like home.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I've said historically that I haven't connected with women in groups historically. They're not my vibe. I'm too tismed. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't feel any of that going in on Saturday. It was just beautiful.
I reckon on the jiu-jitsu mats you've probably found more of your people than you realise.
Oh, yeah. I don't dispute that. We have talked about, jiu-jitsu being very much a tismed world.
Yeah.
But by and large, I magnetize towards men more so. That is my comfort zone because they are so black and white, you know. Whereas I find that there is always in women's circles, historically, there has been an undercurrent. There has been a, pecking order and all the rest of it. I didn't feel any of that on Saturday.
I didn't feel any of that at all, and sometimes you can kind of get that bit of a vibe like, oh, okay, I've got to watch my arms here or I've got to watch my neck here or I've got to make sure that I'm protecting myself because everyone's out to prove that they're the queen bee or whatever. It just didn't feel like that at all.
Oh, man, I do have to say the amount of times I left my arms out on Saturday, it's like, shit.
Tapped again.
Damn. It's like, really? Arms, could you not just stay maybe connected to the body? At one point there, I felt like I was just going to get my belt and tie my arms in.
Yeah, T-Rex arms.
That's
why I get picked on all the time.
I needed that. I think I needed to be cut down and tied in. So I guess, for anybody out there listening in gym world that maybe don't have a great source of women walking through the doors, what are some of the things like this BJJ collective thing that's going on in Sydney? How did that all come about? How did that start?
So I believe there was a couple of black belt females that sort of got together, created a bit of a chat, said, hey, this is what we want to do. We want to sort of start getting some good open mats happening where it's affiliation free, politics free. Are you keen? Very early on, I got included in on that chat. So I was very proud that, someone thought of me.
Yep.
And pretty much reached out to either like the black belt females of academies or their highest representatives.
Yep.
So the ones that are running female programs or female classes or things like that, and included them in on the chat. And then basically the idea is that every couple of months or every quarter or something like that, a different academy who has represented at these open mats, can host.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like a traveling sort of open mat.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes to these open mats and depending on where it is held in, because Sydney is a huge place.
Yeah.
And then we're part of Greater Sydney up on the Central Coast. But depending on where it is means that, for some it's more accessible, for some it's less accessible. So you're not going to have the same faces at every single open mat, but you'll have, a lot of people that are, or you may just, have brand new people. So the idea is that it just gets women in the room together to roll together, come together for a really great sort of thing.
Because we have been to one prior to that wasn't a part of the collective. It was just a female open mat, right, down in Wollongong.
Yep.
Um,
Shout out to Synergy.
Yeah. Thank you. Shout out to Synergy. And then we've also had one or two, I think two since I've been at Iconic, two female open mats. And it's amazing to see the numbers that will come for these kind of things. So women are obviously hungry for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, again, from the perspective of I get to come across females who are in my age demographic. I get to come across females that are in my age demographic and purple belts, or are not in my age demographic but, you know, are maybe same time training as me. And again, thinking at it from a 50-year-old perspective, in my 50s kind of thing, going up against a 25-year-old or an 18-year-old, there's no stamina. I've got nothing comparatively. But when you're going up against someone who's the same age and the same sort of build and been around the same time, and even if they're in their 40s or something, it gives me a better indication of how I'm faring, right? Which is awesome for me.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of that around. So these kind of gatherings as such, A, you meet friends. B, it's invigorating. It reignites why you're there. And again, for me, I've got so much injury, so many things that I'm off the back of trying to repair and heal and everything. And I didn't walk away feeling like I had been
put through the blender,
the nail and the plank. You know, 4, 5, 6,
holding up
and
the wood.
yeah, that's right, yeah, and all of it, which is amazing, and it's awesome, and it's, again, you're right, it's invigorating in that respect.
Totally. You know, I put up a post through Iconic and my own page privately, but I put it up saying there was 52 women on the mat. There were 9 black belt females on that mat on Saturday, which in itself was so incredible. That for, you know, we're not talking about this is what's in Australia. This is just what turned up to that day on that time on that mat.
Yep.
You know, 9 black belt females. When I started jiu-jitsu, there was only one female Australian black belt, and she didn't live in Australia. And I met her, Sophia McDermott, when I went down to my first Australian Girls in Gi camp in Melbourne at Dominance MMA, and she was the first female black belt that I've ever laid eyes on, which was really cool. And she was Australian, which was doubly cool, right? But she was the only one.
Yep.
And then from that, I don't remember there being any brown belts. I remember there being, I think, a purple belt and a bunch of blue belts and a whole slew of white belts.
Yeah.
Now there's so many in Australia.
You know, it's funny, and I've said this to you before, you know, when we spent that 6 months or the 4 months driving across North America and we trained at all those schools, a lot of it when I was doing the research to find them and go and train them, I was looking for female black belts. And, you know, in America, I'm sure there's a plethora of them, but in the journey and the pathway we went and the gyms that we went to, they were very few and far between. And I was trying to look at that from an inspirational point of view for my girls as well, to show, you know, here is what comes for it. And even in our previous school and in our previous experiences, there weren't any that were on show. Karen, who we've had here before, was my closest real guiding light in that regard as a brown belt.
Yep.
And so I think purple belt when I first met her. But again, that was kind of the highest in that regard. You know, in the last 2 years, we've been so fortunate that my kids have been able to meet female black belts that they do connect with, yourself, Miranda, on different levels, and they can go, it is achievable. You know, they can touch you. You are a real person. You're a real being. They're listening to the stories. Yeah. I think that's super important. I think that's super important for teenage girls too.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to see that and be inspired by that. And I noticed specifically on Saturday, and it was really funny actually, how many rolls were there on Saturday? Do you remember?
Hey guys. Sorry for the interruption here. We just wanted to shout out to all our Central Coast and New South Wales listeners. One of our great mates has started a new business, Central Coast Supplements.
Damien's a great guy who also happens to be a veteran. And as you guys know, My Broken Productions and Iconic are huge supporters of our veterans and first responders. So we'd love to see you guys get behind this awesome new business.
If you're looking for protein supplements, healthy snacks for the kids, or just all-round better health options for the family, check out Damien's website, centralcoastsupplements.com.au.
And guys, make sure you remember to use the discount code GISPOT. That's GI space SPOT. GISPOT at the checkout. Now, where were we, Rach?
Don't remember. I think I got 12 in and I certainly sat a couple out.
Okay.
So I would say about 15 or so.
Okay.
More maybe.
So, well, let's just round it down. Say 15 rolls, right? As the rolls progressed through, and I didn't do all of them by any stretch, the latter probably 5 rolls, you started to see all the colours drop off. And the last few rolls, excluding the last round, but probably the last, 4, 3, 2, it was just the black belts on the mat.
Yes.
And it's like, that says volumes for a start. Like
we can preserve our
that's
energy.
It. Yeah,
a little
that's
bit
it. Yeah, I
better.
know.
Or maybe we're smarter early on.
Yeah, I don't know. But everybody, they were the quietest rounds with the most people sitting on the edge. Right. And so that says a lot too, because instead of sitting on the edge chatting, which is what we were all doing when we were sitting out, we're all talking, but all of a sudden this last 4, last 3, second last round, it was just black belts.
Yep.
And everybody was just watching, right, and looking at how you guys all made it all come together and everything. And you could hear girls talking, wow, oh, did you see what she just did there? Oh, look over there, look at that. Oh, yeah. So I think that's impressive. I think that's amazing. And I think if any other gyms out there can have that kind of, inspiration for their females on the mats, do it. Yeah. Because that's how kids get invigorated. That's how young teenagers stay invigorated, because they want that. They see the long-term goal. And it's hard as teenage females because there's not a lot out there on the mats even at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. Teenagers across the board, actually, probably the hardest demographic to keep on the mats.
Yeah.
And we can do a whole episode on that one day, because that's probably our biggest class.
It is. It's huge, isn't it? I know.
Our teenage class is probably the biggest, and it is also about a 50-50 split.
Yep.
Boys and girls.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. But I was going to say, I was rolling with I was a little bit selfish, I will admit. On the weekend, I saw an opportunity for myself, and I was like, there's 8 other black belts here. I'm going to roll with every single one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I don't get to do that very often. Although very, very lucky that we have another black belt female at Iconic as well. And so most academies don't even have one, let alone 2. So we are very spoiled for choice. But I got on this mat and I looked around and I just went, this is insane. And I didn't actually count up how many female black belts there were until we saw we did the photos, right? Yeah. So all I just knew that I was like looking, there's one. All right, I'm going to go ask that lady for a roll. I'm going to go and ask that one for a roll. I'm going to, before I knew it, I'd ended up rolling with every single lady, black belt lady that was there. And I don't know, I don't remember which one I was in, but I think it was like 3 or 4 rounds deep, and I came up at the end of the round, and it was just something so different about rolling with, because I get to roll with black belts. We have heaps of them at Iconic, but women roll different.
Yep.
And then black belt women roll different,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I roll with lots of women and I roll with lots of black belts, but I don't roll with lots of black belt women. Right? Anyway, so I was rolling with one, and the round finished and I thanked her and we hugged, and, it's just an amazing, fun experience, super technical. And I look up and shout out to Lisa. Lisa, if you've been listening to our episodes for a while now, Lisa was on our episode about pregnancy.
All right, yeah.
Pregnancy and babies. And I'd love to get her back on, because she's now almost close to 6 months postpartum. We'll have to do another follow-up episode with her. But she was standing on the sidelines watching with the biggest grin on her face. And she's just staring at me with this huge grin. And I was like, oh, what's up? And she's like, that was amazing. That was so cool to watch. Watching 2 female black belts row was like watching poetry.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Because I don't know about anyone else out there, but there's not a lot of footage of me rolling. And whenever I see footage of me rolling, I'm always disappointed because I always feel like way cooler in my head than when I see myself rolling. It's like, oh, that looks really clunky or, you know, whatever.
I don't think you're alone there in life.
It's kind of when you first hear your voice on recorded, right? You have to get used to it. And then you're like, oh, no, that's me. But when you first hear it for the first time, you're like, do I really sound like that?
Oh, crap, make it stop, make it stop. It's like when Matt does all the editing and all I can hear through the house is my voice ricocheting off walls. And it's like, can you just put your headphones on, please?
It's like even I'm sick of my voice
Yep.
now. Yeah, so like she was just, oh, that was so cool. That was like poetry. And I'm like, really? Because I kind of felt like I was probably a bit clunky. But no, I can appreciate what that must look like from the outside as well.
Absolutely.
But for me, oh my goodness, what an experience.
And it is interesting to watch because I think, you know, and I have actually said this before, for me, jiu-jitsu is like, the best way I can surmise it is it's either like ballet or it's like Broadway. And, you know, I take that analogy because it's either very fluid and it's just slow and it's, you know, the micro movements are on there and sometimes it doesn't look like you're doing anything. It's like the ballerina up on the block, right? It takes 8 years to get up onto the block and hold your body in that position where you're on all your toes on this piece of tiny little 2x2 piece of wood. Black belt in that regard can look like that, where it's 16 years of learnt things to put into this tiny little micro movements, and all of a sudden 2 people have come together in this tornado and then it just stops. And you don't think it's doing anything until somebody taps or you've lost something, and then all of a sudden it moves again. And you can really zone in and go, what the hell are they doing? Oh, my God, he just tapped. Why did he just tap? What did they do? Or it's like we went to a Broadway Beetlejuice, and it was vibrant and it was moving and it was all so fast and everything like that. And when I watch black belts, it's either one of the other. It's never you never see a joined sort of match. It's either
I don't know. I disagree with that.
I haven't. I've either seen it just be real
slow and controlled, like pressure.
Yeah.
Or it's like
yeah, but it's always technical. It's always amazing. It's always at another level where you go, how the fuck did that movement just get that outcome? Like I've missed 30 things in that between A and Z, right? Like I've missed everything. And I love that.
Yep.
And I don't see that a lot in colours. In colours, I see people trying to figure it out.
Less experienced grapplers.
Yeah. So it is interesting. Anytime I see black belts come together, it is amazing to watch and figure out.
There are some amazing matches out there, and there's some beautiful matches that you almost have to put into slow motion to appreciate the pure technical process of what's going on. It's just Grant described it one day on the mats, and I thought it was probably the most perfect way of dealing with it. It's the processing speed of the brain. As you get more and more experience under you, your processing speed speeds up.
Yep.
And so you can just in your head and get through moves.
It was her, not me.
Get through moves a lot quicker and without pause or hesitation, or understand, I'm in a trap, I need to slow this down.
Yeah.
And I need to unwind this, or I need to sort this out. Or before, other people would be just like, oh, how did I get there? I'm tapping now. Or, if it is a bit of a faster movement thing, it's done with less control and maybe even less speed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just, it's a processing speed thing. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. Watching black belt with black belt is that amazing sort of level. Watching black belt with a colour, it's different again, or colour with colour, it's different again, right? But I just think once you get to that level, something just changes in the people, and I guess it's the knowledge and it's the understanding and the learnings and everything. Okay, so back to females for a second. So in regards to setting something up like a collective,
Yep.
what are the benefits for all the gyms out there?
So one of the things that I really love about the Sydney Women's BJJ Collective is that I've been to two of them. There has been a third and I wasn't at that one. So I've been to the first one and been to the third one. And something that was said at the end of the first one and certainly at the third one, so I am assuming it was also said at the second one, was that we are not here to poach your students, or we are not here to try and show you how beautiful this gym is, you should come over here. None of that occurs. It is nothing to do with that. It is about bringing women together on the mats to give them the experience of rolling with other women.
Yep.
That is so important. It's important for gym owners to know that they can trust and send their students to these events knowing that my student is going to be safe. They're not going to go to this event and because of the nature of it or because of the mentality or the vibe of it, they're probably going to come home with an injury and then be off the mats for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Yep.
I want to know that if I'm sending any of my students to somewhere, that they're going to be looked after and kept safe.
Yep.
Number two, it's really comforting to know that these events can happen without any ulterior motive, right? So that's really important too. So I think that the more gyms that get on board this kind of thinking and this mentality, the more it opens up the world for especially their female students.
Yep.
And we can go down, there's a whole thing that we can go down on this pathway too, but having women come together at these events only benefits everyone involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just picking up on that for a second, if we can go back a step, Brada, where we were on Saturday, is beautiful.
Yeah.
The lady that we met was amazing. And she did say at the end, guys, if you're ever through this way, please come, drop in, visit. That I would assume is every gym that is going to be holding this event and everything.
Yep.
That's so important as well. They're not saying come and be our members. That's definitely not on the table, and it's very much made very well aware that that's not what this is about, which is amazing.
Yep.
But it's also, hey, make friends.
Yes.
And if you happen to be traveling through, please drop in and say hi to us and come for a training session. And open mats are on this day, this time, etc. It is the networking factor.
Yes.
And that's really important too, right? Because one of the things as humans that we like when we walk through a door is a sense of familiarity. It's a sense of knowing someone and feeling okay. Opening that network, I love the fact that we have so many friends around the traps that train that I can pretty much pick a location, go there for a holiday and know that I can hook up with someone I know and go and train at their gym.
Yep.
And still feel like I'm a part of it, which is amazing. So I think that's another benefit that comes out from this, right, is the networking component and the friends you make, because you've got that as well, don't you?
Absolutely. Everywhere we go, we've got somewhere that we can drop into, a friend, an acquaintance, and as soon as you drop in and spend a bit of time, they become more than an acquaintance. They become that friend, and part of.
Yeah. Very much so. And so if other gyms were looking to try and get involved in this in the Sydney metro area, do you know what they have to do?
Oh, look, I think they just need to turn up.
Okay.
I think it's plastered all over socials when these events are happening.
Yep.
Turn up to one of the open mats. One of the things that they were saying is choosing locations for where the next open mat's going to be is based on who's coming to the open mats in the first place. So,
very much
if you've got women from your academy representing at these open mats, chances are they can put their hand up and say, hey, we would love to host one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Super easy.
And we'll be having one soon.
Yeah, hopefully. So hopefully Central Coast is not too far for people to come. But the benefit of the Central Coast is it is part of Greater Sydney. And it would also attract people from Newcastle to come down because we're kind of smack bang in between those two cities. So it would allow for that to happen.
We could start the New South Wales Collective.
I'm not starting anything. I'm happy to be a part of.
road trips, woohoo, let's go for a weekend.
The other thing that they do, which I really love, is because it's fully affiliation free, and that the Sydney, the open mats that they put on as the collective are its kind of own entity. But the page, if you tag them in any, if you're running like a women's open mat, and it's just through your club, like we often do, you can tag them and they will just share that content.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's just about really just sharing the love, which I love so much. It's really cool.
Networking to get females through the door.
Yeah.
I wonder what it is about, you know, if there's mums sitting there watching their kids on the sideline, what it is that would stop them from having a go.
So much.
Like, what's the mental block?
It's just stepping out of your comfort zone. I've had a couple of ladies for weeks now go, oh, I'd love to do this. I'm like, come on a Wednesday night. Oh no, I couldn't, not yet. You know, they've got to get through. They've got to be ready when they're ready.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it relies on someone else going, come on, you be right. I'll look after you. The coach, for me to say that, I can say it, but it doesn't mean too much.
Yeah, it's got to come from the other women.
It's got to come from the other women. It really does. When you've got the women on the sidelines going, we'll look after you. Come on. Like, come and be, I'll train with you, because I can't train with them as the coach. I can only go, I can promise you, you'll be looked after, but that's not coming in at their level.
Yeah.
So they need someone at their level to go, no, come on, you're going to jump on with me today. I'll take care of you, blah, blah, blah. So it's really that peer pressure that works so very, very well. But also just that camaraderie at their level where they're at. Yeah.
And we see, we're very fortunate by doing this podcast because we get a lot of shout outs from people overseas and a lot of women that are overseas too, telling us and showing us different parts of their training and how good it's been. We had one just the other day.
We did.
It was awesome. So tell us about that.
So we had a shout out from a lady called Kelly. She actually messaged us around January saying that she listens to our podcast and was in hospital with a dislocated elbow from a competition.
Send us the photos. Paul,
my goodness.
My heart breaks for you because that just looked horrible.
It did look horrible.
It did.
But her coach came in to visit her in hospital and promoted her to blue belt.
Yeah, because she was in a comp, right? And she got the injury in comp.
Yep.
And then as a white belt, and coach came in and promoted her to blue belt. That was
so
awesome.
Cool. What a way to get promoted.
I know.
I've heard of being promoted on the podium.
Yeah.
I have never heard of being promoted in hospital.
So hats off to you, Kelly. I think that's amazing. But, you know, look, even Kelly, from an inspiration point of view and things like that, she wrote a blog just recently and tagged us in it to say that she's taking inspiration. Now, we're not a podcast about women in jiu-jitsu as such, but because we are women in jiu-jitsu, then it becomes, I guess, a bit inspirational for other women out there, which is phenomenal. What can other women do in gyms to become inspirational to help other women, I guess, lower those blocks and push through?
Be welcoming.
Yep.
Be inclusive. Don't be bitchy.
Yep.
Don't talk about the other women.
Yeah.
Don't warn this, that, everything else. Just bring everyone along with you.
Yeah. Along for the ride.
Absolutely. Like, I work so hard where there's been occasions where I've had, like, I would say toxic females in the academy that we don't have anymore. The vibe, what I've got going now, what we've got going now is just amazing.
Yeah.
Like, every woman is in there to help each other. Not everyone has to be everyone's favorite person. I'm not saying that. Not everyone has to be best friends with everyone on the mat. I'm definitely not saying that. But there is something about, like, every other person on the mat can treat every other person with respect. They can have humility, they can have grace, they can, if they're not their favorite training partner, they can avoid roles with them, but they don't have to be bitchy, they don't have to, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do,
just disregard all of the crap and just be there for the right reasons.
Yep.
You are there to train, you know, go in and train. Don't share your life story or bring sob stories onto them. Like, I get that jiu-jitsu is there for mental health.
Yeah.
I get that we form close connections on the mats. Don't interrupt other people's trainings with your problems
Yep.
because everyone is there on those mats trying to forget their problems for the day.
Yeah, it stops
right?
the noise.
That's right. If you've got close people that you're with,
Yep.
reach out to them after it. You know, that's what jiu-jitsu is also there for. You can make close connections that go on and off the mats.
Yep.
Don't bring your stuff onto the mats. Keep that out of the gym.
It was interesting listening to Kim last week when we did the collab with Roll or Die. And, you know, I made the comment to her that I promised my husband coming across to Iconic, no friends. I will keep my distance. And it was all bullshit. It was never a promise I was going to be able to keep. But
I don't think that for a second. I fully think that if you made that promise, you had every intention of keeping it.
I just knew I wouldn't be able to, though. Like, I knew that there would be at least one or two that I would connect with. And, I mean, you know, Matt's known me a really long time and had to deal with my little tisms and idiosyncrasies and everything that is me. So he knew too deep down inside. But, yeah, we play the game.
It was probably more of a let's just be careful.
Yeah, and me saying that to Matt becomes sort of like my beacon of, yes, Kaz, you can trust these people. No, Kaz, you can't trust these people. So it's still kind of like that red flag that says, hey, babe, I'll stand behind you and I'll point out the people I want to be friends with and you tell me if I'm allowed to be or not. Not really allowed to be, but you know what I mean. But, yeah, talking to Kim and she's like, you know, jiu-jitsu is my social. Jiu-jitsu is my friends, jiu-jitsu. And we've talked about this before because I do have some very close friends that are nothing to do with jiu-jitsu and they don't care that I'm everything to do with jiu-jitsu. They still love me and still my friends. But a lot of my social interaction, anything that I do now that is outside of me actually getting out of the house is predominantly jiu-jitsu people.
Yep.
You know, whether it's a barbecue, going camping or going to Subversion, which is about all we do. And that
Sounds like a good life.
I know, right? And I'm not complaining. But it is honestly because I've connected with those couple of females.
Yep.
And there's all sorts of females in Iconic. There's a large, you know, comparatively, there's quite a big group of females at Iconic and I will roll with any of them.
Yep.
No problems whatsoever and have a great time with any of them as well, which is phenomenal. It's not what I'm used to historically. And so there were those guarded, oh, are these going to be bitches? Are they going to be hard to deal with? Are they going to assume? Are they going to da-da-da-da? There is none of that. And it's really freeing.
Yep.
You know, I would hope that for all gyms in the female world because
too.
I know what females can be like.
Yep.
They can be nasty and hard and
a lot
horrible.
of that comes from the top down. A lot of that comes from culture and
Yeah.
a lot of that comes from expectations. So, you know, you remove some of that rubbish and
Yeah.
all of a sudden and encourage the camaraderie and encourage the supporting each other and having each other's backs while trying to submit each other.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not
absolutely.
talking about like not going for it, you know, but you've
Yeah.
got to learn that you can actually like train intensely and train to, you know, get better for yourself and your training partner
Yep.
without there being a competitiveness against each other.
Yep.
Like, and that's a tricky mindset to switch sometimes. So,
And I think too, because I am very competitive and I struggle to not be competitive. But I think in that 5 minutes, I've had to learn, and it took a lot for me to learn, okay, this is a white belt, this is a blue belt or whatever the case may be. And for me to calm down on that too, like I had to learn, as everybody has always done for me, to drop back to just above my level, if that makes sense. And so I think for that 5 minutes, there is that time where you can be competitive and you can just want to submit or you can just want to get the points or you can want to get on top and stay on top and that be okay. And at the end of the 5 minutes, everything drops back immediately to, hey, thanks, that was great.
Yep.
You know, you were cool and here's why, and I was cool and here's why, and just share that couple of seconds of, hey, thanks for that. That was amazing.
yep.
Not just kind of brush it and on to the next one. So I think that's really important too, and especially for retention of females in this space. Because getting them through the door might be one thing, but keeping them coming back is probably
the hardest thing of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even for us.
Yep.
Even for us who have such a good rate of females on the mats, it's probably one of my hardest demographics to keep on the mats.
On the mats.
Why do you think that women-only spaces are important in jiu-jitsu?
I think that for women not like me, it's important. Well, actually, there's two answers to that. So for women like me, I think it's important in the respect of being able to break down my preconceptions. So I was never going to come to your women's class because by and large women frighten the shit out of me.
And you'd never been to a women's only class?
I had never been to a women's only class, and there had been, I think in the last year that we were with the previous gym, and don't quote me on those times, I think a women's class had started. I had never been. I didn't join the women's group of chat. I didn't go to any of the women only classes. I didn't go to the women only self-defense stuff. And it's because I wasn't connected with any of the women at that gym. And so my safe space was the rats and you know, our group that we had made within that school. When I came across to Iconic, the only reason I came to the women's class was for you. And the anxiety I probably put myself through in the first couple of weeks of going to that class was pretty huge. Like, oh God, they're going to eat me alive. I'm not going to understand them. I'm not going to connect with any of them. They're not going to understand me. They're going to miss.
They're not my people.
They're not my people. Yeah, that's right. They're not my people. And I was so very wrong.
And what did you find out?
I found out that I was very wrong in that regard. I've been to every lesson that I could go to since.
You've even taught a few?
I've taught a few. Yep, absolutely I have, and had a ball doing it. Some of my closest friends in the world are in this group now, and others are really good friends. And like I said before, we go camping and we do stuff. And us women as a group have gone away to Foster for a weekend, or we've been out for dinner and birthday parties.
Got pepper sprayed.
You got pepper sprayed, and that's another story. See, I keep telling everyone you're the devil and I'm the innocent one. It's just that I swear. Nobody believes me. And so what I found was that I was able to break down my preconception of what a female group together actually was. And I think it's really important to note that there absolutely are those women that I think are complete fucktards in the world. There really is. And I have been exposed to a lot of them, and I've had to fight my way away from and out of. That's not the case with the Wednesday night crew at Iconic. And
it wasn't the case on Saturday.
And so much wasn't the case on Saturday. And it wasn't the case at Wollongong when I went to the one down in Wollongong. And it wasn't the case at the two women's open mats that I've been to with Iconic too, with women coming from all over the place, from Wollongong, from Sydney, from Newcastle. I think the landscape's changing for women, and I think this particular martial arts brings together women who really want to, and those that have an undercurrent, those that have that little narcissistic or that nasty bitchy kind of thing, they get shut down pretty quickly.
They've got to learn to hold it in.
Yeah, they get silenced. They don't get kicked out, but they do get silenced, I think, which is phenomenal. Because the greater landscape, the greater portion of women are saying, no, we're here for good.
Yep.
We're only here for the good.
Yep.
We're here to bring you up. We're here to encourage you to stay. We want you on the mats. We want to have these kind of days where we all get together, and we want it to be brilliant. And if there's a sour apple in the mix, we'll silence them.
Yep.
We'll put it down, because that's not the behaviour that's accepted here.
And so they'll learn to just adapt and change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they'll fuck off. Don't come back. It's real simple.
Yeah. So one thing I really hate seeing online, when anyone ever puts up about like women open mats or women only classes, things like that, you'll often see some comments come through, and it's majority men that will write these comments. Sometimes it's women who write these comments too. And I think it's probably a lack of education here on both parts. Or a lack of experience or whatever. Why should women have only female-only spaces when the majority of self-defense situations will be against men. They need to learn how to roll against men to be able to protect themselves.
Well, that's going back to sort of your last question too for me, because I mentioned that there was 2 answers to it.
Oh, yes.
And so for women like me who are bull at a gate, would go on the mats and roll with men, not think twice about it, a women's class teaches me that I can be friends with women, and that's huge. I think there is the other side of the fence where women underestimate their own self-power and women underestimate their own self-strength. And I don't just mean physical strength. I mean a bigger power. I mean their mental capability. And I'm going to give you an example of someone like Vicky. Okay, so Vicky is a member at Iconic and a beautiful woman. She's like 5 foot nothing, and
She's actually taller than I am.
is she?
Yeah, but she's tiny.
She's tiny. She's
so
like
tiny. She's probably 50 kilos wringing wet.
Yeah, absolutely. She's literally now. This woman will go into a class and roll with anybody on the mat, right? And I've watched her do it from white belt through 110 kilo men down to similar size, and females, males, kids, whatever. She's amazing. She got into my car on Saturday and was full of, I'm not sure, I don't want to be a waste of anybody's time kind of thing. And I'm like, Vicky, stop it right now. That is enough. You've earned your blue belt. You're there as a representation of blue belt because you've earned it, and so that's who you are. And it doesn't matter if somebody is better than you on the day that isn't a blue belt or whatever the case may be. Like, you're there, you're holding your own, you've earned it. Be good with that.
Yep.
Now, I don't think for a second on Vicky's first day or first month that she would have just gone onto a mat and just picked anybody to roll with and being good with it and all the rest of it. Even though there's still a little bit of self-doubt there is a strength in her psyche that says, I'm going up against anybody.
Yep.
I think having a women's class that allows women who don't think they ever could to come in and test the waters in what they deem to be a safe existence. Now, I am 90 kilos. I'm strong as fuck. I could probably do as much damage to that woman as the next man next to me, right? So it's a perception of safety in amongst women.
Yep.
But it allows them that space to come in and settle in and understand what connection between two bodies is going to do and what pressure might look like. And if under that pressure initially with another female, they go, oh, wait, I'm uncomfortable, that other female will just stop and get it. Men might not. So it allows them that space to build their inner strength. And then they start testing the waters elsewhere. I think there's a lot of females in this world that wouldn't make it through jiu-jitsu and become that strong, independent, I can fuck with anybody, I can roll with anybody type female if they didn't have that entry pathway first through a women's class.
Yep.
And I think that's important. I think it's important to give women that platform to be able to test themselves in what they perceive to be a safe environment. And then explore the waters and get out. They could do it anyway, but they might never because there wasn't that first initial pathway. As a gymnast, you never learn to do a backflip without soft landings, mattress, people around you to do it. And then you can do it on a cement slab. After you've gone through the soft landings, the foam catch, the mattresses, whatever the case may be. In trampolining, you never learn to do without a harness on, and they pull the ropes if you're going to land on your neck and break your head and all the rest of it. There is a safety pathway that allows you to become a stronger individual in that sport, whatever it is that you've chosen. Why should jiu-jitsu be any different? Why not allow a safe pathway to become the expert?
Exactly.
So to any of the naysayers out there that, why would you have it? Why wouldn't you? Dumb fucks.
But here's the other thing too, and I hang on. Excuse me. Yes, yeah, we're struggling today. Can you I mean, I'm not going to speak for men, but I know that we have men that, you know, and we have amazing men at Iconic. And I know that they don't all turn up to jiu-jitsu night in, night out just for self-defense.
No.
I know that they turn up because they have a love of jiu-jitsu.
The men or the women?
The men.
Oh, yeah.
They have a love of jiu-jitsu. They have a love of the solving of the puzzles. They have a love of the community and the camaraderie. They have a love of what it does for them mental health-wise. Yeah. They just love the banter. They love the environment. They love that.
I would actually argue that most men don't even think of it as self-defense.
I think a lot of people walk through the door because they need that kind of feeling of empowerment. Mm-hmm. Now, whether it's because something's happened or whether they just want to learn how to fight or they go, hang on, I don't think I'd know how to do that, or they want to do something for them. There's always that feeling of like, I think most of the time men and women walk through the door initially because they want to feel something more. They want to know how to look after themselves and their family and know what to do, right? But it very quickly evolves into, hey, this is just fun.
Yeah.
I like being here. These people are cool. I go home feeling better. I go home not worrying about the stresses of the day, and I'm a turn up as a better father, husband, brother, whatever for my family. You know, so I think that all the other benefits then come on board very, very quickly. It's just very interesting to me that online you will always get those comments from guys and some women, as I said, going, why should they have women-only spaces? We don't have men-only spaces. Why should they have women-only things when they're going to be fighting men? Like they bring it back to those base level things, forgetting that for 99.9% of people out there who make it past blue belt, they stay because of all the other benefits that jiu-jitsu gives them. And most of the time, guys on the mats have majority guys on the mats.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't until I was actually driving here today that I remembered that on Tuesday night I taught the class and I was the only female on the mat. Yeah. Now we're in an academy with I think just over 25% representation of women or females across the board. That's very unusual that we would not have a single other female on the mat, but I didn't even think of it until I was driving here today because, number one, the guys that we have at Iconic are just incredible humans and, you know, I don't think gender. Yeah. But number two, like, I don't know, it was just a fun night that I taught and it was cool.
It just,
Yeah, but I don't even know where I was going with.
But you know, though, like people that are commenting on that obviously haven't been to any competitions because it is female to female in competition and it's male to male in competition. And I don't know of and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I don't know of a competition where it's male versus female.
I think there has been the odd.
So it's not common,
happened.
right?
No,
so,
absolutely not.
You know, saying why would they only have female classes, that's ridiculous, is irrelevant of the fact that it's dumb from a female perspective. Like it's just a dumb statement.
It is.
Because it's female to female in comp. Why wouldn't you want your females training with other females to get ready for that kind of environment?
Exactly.
If that's what they were doing anyway. So,
but I mean, beyond all of that, you know what? It's just actually fun for us to be in a room of like-minded people that we can, you know, just...
It's amazing listening to other people's stories too and really diving down into why, and again, from a very selfish perspective, other females, why have other females come to this sport and what are they taking away from it and what are they getting out of it? And I love always going through, I'm such a sticky beak. So I'm inquisitive by nature, and so I ask a deluge of questions when I meet people.
No.
I know, right?
You do not.
I know, I'm such a sticky beak. And so it's interesting because I'll ask different things and then I start finding out, you know, if people have children and do their children train and different components to that and where they sit, where jiu-jitsu sits in their life on an importance rating. And yeah, I'm very sticky beak, love finding all that kind of information out. So it's always fun when I come together with a group of females and I get to, you know, scratch my own inquisitive nature. as well as my jiu-jitsu nature. But Saturday, a huge shout out to everybody that was there on Saturday because it was phenomenal.
It was.
It was so much fun. The ladies that I rolled with, they made me laugh so much in every roll for different reasons. They were just fun to be with. And I think it was my last roll and I was absolutely gassed and I went up against a teenage girl and she was just phenomenal. And she was absolutely out for the win. There was no two ways about it, and she got it. Here you go, love. You have it.
The two demographics who will always be the hardest roles in any gym will be the teenagers,
yep,
and the blue belts.
Yep,
yeah.
Very much so. And I got to roll with black belt all the way down on Saturday, which was phenomenal for me. I was so grateful that I had so many really good rolls. And I get to roll with my kids too to kind of break the ice for them as we start off.
Look, it was so funny because when the first couple of rolls, I'm looking around and I'm seeing iconic lady with iconic lady. I'm seeing Kaz with one of her daughters and I'm going, girls, you get to do this every single week. Go find new friends. Go.
Yep.
Spread your wings.
And it was really cool because Jess said at the very start, like, we'll start 3-minute rounds just to warm up a bit. That lasted 1 round.
Yeah.
And then they moved it straight into 5-minute rounds.
Yeah, no, that was always the plan.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I thought there was going to be a couple of
1
3-minute.
3-minute round and then go for it.
And then, and we all bound together. And I think every gym probably did that in the first instance.
Yeah.
But I said to my kids, if I catch you rolling with the iconic ladies throughout this whole period, I'll be very disappointed with you.
Just say no ice cream on the way home.
Yeah. It's like, I won't be mad. I'll just be very disappointed. And so both of them like, yes, Mum. But to their credit, they did. They rolled with all gamuts of ladies on the mats on Saturday. Yeah. And the iconic women did too. Like I know there was a couple that were pretty nervous. They were coming out of their comfort zone and everything.
It does take a round or two to warm up.
It does. Yep.
Even I, on the day, I think it was either my warm-up roll, I think it was, I can't remember, or the first actual roll, that I actually had Scarlett.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, just you have to it's like stepping into the new gym is stepping out of your comfort zone in the first place. So then you're going to find that comfort again in someone you know. Yep. And then from there you can start to just like explore. It was really cute. One of the white belt ladies, again, I'm not sure if it was Jess or Lisa, I can't remember. But I was like, it's like you're in a room and you want to like ask someone out on a date.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of make that eye contact across the mat and then raise your eyebrow and then give a little smile. And if you get that reciprocation, then you're like, want to roll?
It's like, you're on my dance card.
Yeah.
Let's do this dance. And you know what though? And I think that's how I got my first roll with one of the other ladies because we had been talking. I think she was rolling with someone and I was rolling with someone and we were making eye contact as we were mid-roll and we had a laugh about something because we were both purple belts rolling with someone and I'm like, I'm getting smushed. I think I was with one of my kids at the time. I'm like, I'm getting smushed and she was getting smushed and we had a big laugh about it. And then at the end of the roll, we just started chatting and then she's like, hey, you want to have a roll? Yeah, let's do it. When those kind of things happen, everything melts away, right? All of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm with a cool person. Let's go do it. And again, had a ball.
You can see who is newer at those environments and who is more experienced because the newer people would be like, so do you want to have a role? We're like, this is what we're here to do.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's actually like this, I'm a sure thing, right?
Yeah.
Like just ask me.
I was pre-printed on your dance card. We're good.
We're good to go. I have to say it's a really privileged position to be in as a black belt female on that mat. I get to look around the room and just, I'm not going to have too many people decline a role with me. So I understand that it's like I am in a privileged position there. At the same time, the expectations, I don't think there are many. I don't know. I think the mat on the day was just beautiful and I think the women across the board were beautiful. I think sometimes I feel like I could let people down, if I don't give enough or that sort of thing. But I I don't think I got that vibe at all on the weekend. It was just so cool.
I'm grateful to Jess, the black belt Jess, who called me out for a roll. It was amazing. I will roll with a black belt any day of the week that I get an opportunity to, because I just think, I've been able to roll with a couple of ladies in America, and you and Miranda, and now Jess. And I just think I understand that you guys at any given moment could just go, I'm over this, tap Kaz. But
I think you underestimate yourself a little bit there, but that's okay. Let's keep going.
I just think there is something I get very excited at female black belts, because it's kind of like, I want that for my kids, but I also want that for me too, right? And so the ability to spend 5 minutes in that person's present who has walked the walk before me, who has done the time, who has been through all the hurdles to achieve that something that I am striving to try and achieve, that's awe-inspiring for me. It doesn't matter who they are, but females especially, especially females in my demographic, sort of you 40s and onwards, because it means that it is achievable to see them still up, and to see you guys on the mats and moving so fluidly and moving so with intent and so articulate in how you're getting to the next positions and things like that. You say you look clunky in a roll, but when we watch you, there's nothing clunky about it. When we're underneath you, there's nothing clunky about how you're sneakily getting up into the collar, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck, get. And those sort of things, those moments excite me. And so I got the opportunity on Saturday to roll with Jess, and I saved it. I loved it. It was so much fun. I got nothing and I got nowhere, but it was so much fun.
What I meant by that was that I usually, when I see myself on video, I'm way more clunky than I think I am in my head.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm this graceful gazelle, and I'm certainly not that. When I look at myself on video, I'm like, nah, that's not how I pictured that going.
I think we all have those moments, sweet. It's all good. I have that moment about everything in life. It's like, no, that's not what I thought I looked like, or, oh, God, get that away. Yuck. Never mind.
What was your absolute number one highlight moment on the weekend? On the weekend,
watching my kids. That was my absolute pinnacle for me. And I was so sorry that Willow was sick, because she just would have had a ball.
Yeah,
but
that's all right. There'll be plenty more.
Yeah. For me, my experiences on the mat were all 10 out of 10. Just watching my kids, and I always give my kids a benchmark. Like, I want you to have at least 5 rolls with people you don't know. And I set this up with all of them, so they have that expectation going in, and that's their challenge. And to hear my kids come back and go, I'm up to 7, I'm up to 8, I'm up to 9, and they're still smiling and they're laughing, and, oh, Mum, you should have seen how I got this. Or having women come up to me going, oh my God, I just rolled with your daughters and they're beautiful, or what weapons they are. And hearing that kind of feedback, for me, that's the pinnacle for me, because our kids have to do this. And to hear so much feedback about how amazing they are and how much fun they are to be around, and it cements it for me that we're making the right decision in this space.
Yeah.
There's never a doubt that we're making the right decision to make this a mandatory part of their life.
Yep.
And they just thrive in it.
Yeah.
So for me, it was watching my daughters in this space, and a huge shout out, and again, thank you to everybody that took the time to roll with my kids, because it's an amazing experience for them. They come away, they go down so nervous, thinking that they're not going to enjoy it, they're not going to have fun, and come away so excited and so exhausted. It's awesome.
And then next time, hopefully they just go, no, you know what? Last time was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we can't wait for today.
And that's 2 for 2 so far, because I took them down to Wollongong as well.
Yep.
Well, even at the 2 at Iconic too. So that's 4 for 4.
Yep.
They've not once come away going, oh, that was really shit, Mum, I don't want to do that again.
Yep.
And these kind of things for the kids are not mandatory.
Yep.
So getting up and training every week is absolutely mandatory. There's no two ways about it. But these kind of things in competition, they're not mandatory. My kids choose to want to come to these things. So it's good. Yeah, that was probably my biggest highlight. What about you?
My biggest highlight was just rolling with the 8 other female black belts.
Yeah.
I mean, I had other amazing roles on the day, and I'm not discrediting that or taking anything away from those women because they were super fun, amazing, awesome roles. But for me, and I was talking to one of the other black belt ladies about this very thought. When you are one of few or one of the only, right? So in Iconic, we do have 2 female black belts, but most of the time I'm only training against other male black belts or my students.
Yep.
So I sort of don't always gauge exactly where I fit in the world, you know, and yes, I fully, acknowledge that I have done everything I have and I've earned my black belt. I deserve it. I wear it with pride, all of that sort of stuff. Yep. But when you get to go on on a mat like that where none of us were out for blood at all, but we're all there to train properly.
That's right.
I don't think any of us were going 100%, there was probably like somewhere in that realm of like 60 to 80%. We were there to have fun. We had a great day and great roles. We were trying to submit each other. Yeah. But, it wasn't like competition.
No, so but you were still testing your skills.
Yeah, but it wasn't that competition mindset. Yep. So it was like it fit in that beautiful space of training, right? On the training mat with each other, I was just really proud to sort of go, you know what, I fit with these ladies. I'm really proud that I fit with these ladies. Good. And that, I'm giving a little bit to them. They're giving a little bit back to me. This is interesting. It's back and forth. Oops, I just got there. Hey, I got someone there. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just beautiful. It was really nice to be able to walk away from that day and just go, yeah, I can hang. Yep. And that's all I wanted to know was that I could hang. Because it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, you'll often have those little intrusive thoughts of self-doubt and things like that. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for, you will.
You want to know you fit. You want to know that, you are where you think you should be.
Yep.
And you're in amongst your peers and you deserve to be there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
So
and that's exactly
me, that was my highlight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pleased you got that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's it's important, right? We talk about, don't make belts the priority and all the rest of it, but your journey, your belts and where you are in it is such an important part. The black belt, there was 9 black belts and some of them had more stripes, some of them had no stripes, some of them that's the only 2 options. Some had stripes, some didn't have stripes. I didn't know what the third one was.
Tell me what.
But it must be very, what's the word? Not enlightening, but really nice to know that in amongst those people that you don't get every week, you fit. Yeah. You're in there. And it's the same thing that I said to Vicky when we were driving home. Like her whole mindset was a bit concerned about whether or not she was worthy. And my God, she's worthy. Absolutely she's worthy. And even at Purple Belt, me rolling with some of the other women on the weekend and knowing that I held my own, I could. That was super empowering for me as well. Yep. So I get it. I think it's a really huge takeaway from the weekend.
Absolutely.
And I hope all the other women got very similar takeaways as well.
I think all of them, hopefully, as far as I'm aware, all the Iconic ladies just came off just going, that was cool.
Yeah. It was awesome. Well, hopefully all the other gyms too as well. And, we get to see many, many more of that coming up and coming through.
For sure.
So that's very cool. So huge shout out to everybody that turned up on Saturday.
Love it.
For the women's collective Sydney BJJ something or other. I don't know, I've probably fucked that up.
Sydney Women's BJJ Collective.
There you go. That's it. That one. We'd love to hear
we need
too.
what do you call it?
An acronym for them. Yeah. I'll have to have a look at what the letters are.
SWBJJC.
Swibbager. I was going to say swags, but no, that doesn't work. No. We'll play with it and find something out. I'd love to hear from anybody out there listening across the globe if there's other women's collectives out there and what momentum they're kind of getting and what's the feedback like as well.
Yep.
I'd love to hear those kind of stories. So
Yeah.
huge shout out to anyone listening if you've got it.
And shout out to the ladies on the weekend because there was a few that were there that listened to our podcast.
Yeah, that
So
was
really
awesome.
cool. So
Yep.
thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Yeah. And please like and share us.
And subscribe. What's your hope today, Kaz?
All right, my hope is that it stops fucking raining.
That's nothing to do with
I know.
jiu-jitsu. But everything to do with jiu-jitsu.
Everything to do. Oh, I'm so sick of the rain.
Yeah.
My hope is that, and I haven't said it for a while actually, and I used to say it every episode. My hope is that there are females or males out there listening that know of other females that are not yet on the mat. Find a way, people. Bring them through the door. You know, lift them up. I'd love to see this space grow exponentially in the female on mats. Teenagers, to all the mums out there, if your girls aren't doing that, if your girls aren't in jiu-jitsu, my hope is that you put them in jiu-jitsu. I just think domestic violence and violence towards women is growing every day, and we need to grow this space to try and have a chance, a fighting chance to push back.
Yep. And my hope would be to take it even further than that, and I'm about to cough again, excuse me, is that it's not just about the self-defense. And that's an important switch to make in your mind as well. It is about the camaraderie. It is about a wonderful group of people that you're bringing your kids and yourself through with, you know, on this journey. Get on board these promotions, get on board these events, get on board these initiatives, because having your female students go to things like this where they can just meet other like-minded people and then come back to the gym feeling so invigorated and inspired, that's going to keep women on the mats.
Absolutely.
And then that's going to rub off onto any other new people that walk through the door. It's just going to be so much better for your gym and your culture and things like that. So don't be afraid. You know, like the most important thing I think for gym owners out there, don't be afraid to send your students off to these events.
Yep.
Knowing that they're probably going to be really looked after, that they're going to come back feeling better than ever about their jiu-jitsu journey. That's really cool.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I think one of the greatest things about going to competitions these days, my kids are like, oh, I wonder if such and such is going to be there. And they get to catch up with kids they've made friends with through competition. You know, and it doesn't matter if they've beat them, lost against them. Every time they come back again, they're still, hey, how have you been? Rah, rah. Or they've caught up and they're connected on socials. And, you know, this becomes, like we said last episode, it becomes your social. It becomes a part of your family and who you are and your friends and all the rest of it. So you're right. It does offer so much more than just self-defense. I stand by it. I love the fact that my kids have a fighting chance.
Yep. Love it. All right. Well,
we got it.
For another episode.
I know. We survived.
We got through the intro.
We did. Just.
Eventually.
That was hilarious.
I don't think we actually did get through the intro today.
We're still here and we've done an episode, so we got through it. We just didn't get through it well. It was hilarious.
I think that's how we get through life sometimes.
I know, right? Just one foot in front of the other. I think we've done phenomenally well given how wretched we both are. So I'll hats off to us for sitting through this episode.
Apologies for the little coughs and whatnot through, but, you know, we'd rather be here than not be here.
Absolutely.
At the end
and
of the
I reckon
day.
everybody out there listening has probably got some form of cold, sniffle, or especially in Australia at the moment, it seems to be everywhere.
It hasn't stopped raining for days. We need some sunlight. Sunlight's the cure for all.
Oh, man. Bring on the vitamin D.
It'd be good. All right. Well, if you like what you heard today, please like, share, subscribe. Give us the 5 stars. Leave us a comment. Slide into our DMs. Do all of that business and more. And until next week.
Love your work. Have a great
then.
week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. This podcast is a My Broken Soldier production.
And brought to you by Iconic Jiu-Jitsu.